Welcome back to South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. Ashlyn and Al here with you on a practice day, recapping a massive win, one of the biggest wins, if not the biggest win of the season over the Dallas Stars, and then looking forward to another big game against the Colorado Avalanche this weekend at home. And it's a really exciting time for the Flyers. And Al, I know yesterday we were in the office, we were getting ready for our pregame show, and maybe we have to stop doing this. You don't expect a loss, but we talked about this game and we said, this is going to be really tough. And if they lost, we wouldn't be surprised. The Flyers had a lot going up against them, their first game back from a very successful road trip. And you thought maybe they could have, taken a night off. And man, did they shut us up, because it was a dominating win over the Stars.
It was, but let's start out.
Oh boy.
I was at practice. I went through the snow. You're the one sitting there with a toque on like you're in the middle of the tundra. I got there.
You gotta give me some slack. This is only my second time in snow ever in my life. It's 6 inches, and you're telling me to go over that bridge? I could die out there.
Everybody's like, "Where's Florida girl?" I'm like,
Where do you think she is? Home.
4-wheel drive truck. She's got everything ready to go, and she's not here. And now I look at you, and you got the hat on, like you're all ready for an igloo. It was, we all went to practice. Everybody was fine. It was cool. Gritty was even there.
Of course he was.
You know what it's like for a guy with that size feet to drive that car through the snow. So, I guess you're gonna have to toughen up, get used to this weather.
I'm trying, and I really thought I was getting better. I did. But it's like, truthfully, our coworkers psyched me out. I was ready. I was going to cross that bridge with confidence. And then everyone was like, the bridge can get a little dicey with snow. And I was like, no.
I will tell you, Charlie O'Connor slid a little bit, and he had a bit of an incident with his car. He's fine. The car's not, though. But he's fine. Just a little.
Ow.
He's pretty cool. So he slid. Everybody was sliding. You probably made the right decision.
You're the worst. You make me feel guilty. And people are getting in car wrecks out here.
Well, it wasn't a car wreck. It was just a minor mishap, and everybody was kind of laughing about it.
Gosh.
But you were safe, and you were nice and warm and safe back home.
Toasty, played with George in the snow.
Snuggled up with George is your dog, yes.
Yes, yeah. We should give context to that.
Make that clear. Yeah. No, it was a huge win. And like you said, if they had lost, I would have thought, okay, great road trip, come back and you slide a bit. But they came back and had the best game of the year. And here's what I find remarkable. Morgan Frost said after the game that they had talked about a statement win. And I'm thinking, okay, Morgan Frost, kind of a young guy, come in. But today at practice, Carter Hart, who didn't play in the game, he'll play the next game against Colorado, I assume. I was just speaking to him briefly, and he said, he's the same words. He goes, that was a statement win. He goes, I've been here, I think it's 6 years, and that was as good as I've seen everybody play overall. Yeah. So, this is from all corners. Plus, for John Tortorella, who doesn't get that excited with the win, he can always see something to be done better. He did everything but click his heels after the game. So that's how good a win that was. It really was. It was well received by the public, by the crowd, was awesome. So you're right. It was I don't think it's overstating to say it was a statement win.
It was. And we were talking to some of the reporters after the game, and they were talking about how they've never seen John Tortorella so positive post-game. And he can get positive, but that post-game press conference, I encourage people to go watch it if you haven't, because it was really the first time where he didn't have anything to coach about, to fix, to say this wasn't good enough. And that's really the first time all season we've heard him say that.
Yeah, because it was, he said they should enjoy it, basically, because it was that good. It was that overall. We're going to talk about some of the highlights, but you had 4 or 5 highlights to pick from in that game. And it was all overwhelmingly good. So even if you went inside the game and looked at those highlights, the overall game is what was completely impressive.
It really was. And we talked about offensively, defensively. That was, I thought, the most impressive performance for the Flyers, even though we're going to talk about Owen Tippett's goals and Cam Atkinson getting back on the board and Ayerson for goaltending. You really didn't see a ton. And it was really before the third period started, we were kind of scratching our heads about this Dallas Stars team, because this was a team, Torts talked about it. He thought they were a Stanley Cup contender, and they looked a little flat. They pushed in the third period, but at first I thought, is this just the Stars playing bad? But then in the third period, I was like, no, this is the Flyers being this good.
Yeah, it was the Flyers pushing the game inside out, keeping Dallas to the outside in that first period, when the Flyers had a real skinny lead for the overwhelming number of shots they had. I mean, basically one shot on net for Dallas in a whole period. And it is a very good team. I mean, that is a team that scores a lot of goals, and they have great balance. And they have a terrific goaltender who's healthy now and playing. So that wasn't like, when you talk about measuring sticks, that's as good a measuring stick as you're going to find for your complete game, to be able to kind of lock down everything and to penetrate them to get chance after chance.
Yes, and we have to talk about Owen Tippett. I mean, when I saw his second goal, I was upstairs. You guys were down in the studio, and I screamed to nobody because no one was in the office. I said, "Goal of the year," because that was your immediate reaction when you saw it. And it was the first play on Sportscenter Top 10 this morning, number 1. So I'm glad that ESPN recognized it, because it was a thing of beauty, and it just speaks to Tippett's confidence. He said post-game he had no idea what he was doing. He just went with it. And it shows that these guys are just playing right now. They're having fun. They're trying some things out, and it's working.
Yeah, well, it's the speed that he has and the power that he has in his game. Again, he came in the locker room after practice. Everybody was cheering because they'd seen the Sportscenter thing. And people waiting to talk to him about, everything involved in the goal. That's a moment you kind of, I would think you would live for. I mean, I've covered the game. You were with me in the post game. I was like, that's unbelievable.
This doesn't happen every night. Yeah.
I'm trying to do the, talk over the highlight. I'm still like, wow, can't believe I'm watching this. That's how good that goal was. And, even for Torts to mention it, and, Tippett tries to downplay things. I mean, he's got a real Canadian attitude, I guess, in the way things go. But even he had the big smile about having done something like that, and had to admit that was just a highlight reel goal. So, good on him. And, somebody might say, well, it's at the end of a game or something, but no, that was spectacular. From my point of view, having covered hockey forever, the spinorama was like Denny Savard, the guy who used to play for Chicago, have that spinorama move. It's just, it looks impossible. Really, when you look at it, you go, how does that happen? Well, it happens when you have the speed like that, and to be able to snap off a backhander with that sort of speed. That's what really made it sensational, which is where it beat the goaltender.
It was awesome, and it led to an electric post game. And what is sweeping the nation right now, thanks to Charlie O'Connor, who tweeted it out, is the Pokemon song that everyone is talking about. And I don't want to make it dramatic, but I think it's the new Dancing on Our Own in Philadelphia. It is in every video this morning on social media that the Flyers, for some reason, I got the story. I'm going to actually have the story in the broadcast tomorrow, but I was told Scott Lawton was the one who chose to play the song, and he is in charge of the aux cord post game. So I'm going to get to the bottom of this, of why he chose that song.
There's a saxophone squirtle, saxophone. Yeah, it's finding its way. I don't know how this happens to like scoreboards and stuff. But this was the perfect time for it. And it goes on, and it's just, that's when you can tell they're having fun. I mean, I was hoping, Torts would dance to it. It'd look like,
right.
Yeah. Like, then we could run the video of Ashley from the Addams Family dancing with Lurch. It'd be like, that's going to be unbelievable. But I mean, that's when you really know guys are having fun. Like Colorado's coming in Saturday. They had all the small things that they played after during their games. Yep. So I do think I would love that to be a goal song or whatever. Personally, I think each player should have their own goal song, make it even that much more interesting. Yep. But I mean, if you play that in the arena and try to own it, I think Orange and Black could own it.
Oh my God, people are freaking out about it. It's all over all these videos, and it's only been, not even 12 hours. It's been half a day, and this is picking up so much traction. And now you go to what's next. And we always say this, the Flyers, they have 7 wins over top 10 clubs this season. And at the beginning of the year, I always said on our shows, well, they play up to their opponent. Their opponent's here. The Flyers are in the middle, but man, they play up every game. I'm not going to say that anymore, because the Flyers have beaten now these good teams, 7 wins over top 10 teams this season. They're going to face another top 10 team tomorrow in the Colorado Avalanche. But you go into this game confident, because why shouldn't you be? The Flyers have proven they can beat these teams.
Yeah, you go in confident, but you don't want to be as overconfident, I guess. And there's also an inner competition. I'm assuming Hart plays goal.
Yep.
At practice today, looked fine. Spoke to him afterwards. And that, as opposed to Dallas's overall game or whatever, you have two sensational players in Colorado, McKinnon and Makar to come in. It kind of reminds me Gretzky and Coffey, maybe Orr and Esposito. To have that kind of combination is insane to have to go to work. And I think that snaps you to attention. So it's going to be an afternoon game. I hope you can make it there. I know it's going to be some remnants of snow, but
might have to host the show.
We'll get you. Can George pull a sled to get you there?
To the Wells Fargo Center? I'll try.
So, it'll be an afternoon game. It'll be packed. That I'm expecting Gritty to be playing the saxophone.
For sure. We already know that's happening.
With the song coming up, and to be just everybody all jacked up like that against a team that was beaten by Boston last night. So, they're going to be pumped up for this. And as you mentioned, Flyers aren't going to catch anybody. I think previously, maybe teams finally really, you know what? And the word was, when you play the Flyers, get ready, they're going to outwork you. Mm-hmm. And they outworked people. But I think now the other eye's open in terms of speed, how fast they play. And I'm not talking just skate speed or speed on the ice, like, tip it. I'm talking moving the puck speed. There was, the one goal where it was basically 5-touch, where Frost, who played a remarkable game, two passes off the boards, and then spring a guy loose, all 5 players involved. That's speed. That makes the game that much faster. And I asked Tortorella today about when did they get the confidence to? You have to be a confident team to try to move it that quickly. Mm-hmm. And he said they worked on their defense last year. This is stage 2, if you will. Mm-hmm. But also, and this is key when you've got a guy like that behind you on the bench, not being afraid to make a mistake at that speed. That the coach isn't necessarily going to be ready to, be right in your ear. And that includes guys like Frost, who can make some mistakes, who can make some mistakes. But when you saw what happened last night, against a really good team, I believe they now have faith in themselves to play at that pace.
They're rolling right now. And that was the model of a game. Now, the question is, how often can you keep a game like that up? Because that was the definition of a complete game where everyone did exactly what they were supposed to do. So now, how long can they do this? But I know you were at practice and you were talking about goaltending, Carter Hart, Sam Ersson, Carter Hart most likely getting the start against the Avalanche. What did they have to say, George?
Well, Carter, is that your dog? The dog wants the snow. He wants you to go out. Well,
he sits by the front door, and just if he barks, maybe the door will open so he can go play in the snow.
Well, Carter was like, I'm assuming he gets the go in this game, and he was like, he couldn't wait to talk about how well they played overall, and him having played here for as long as basically almost anybody, Couturier, except Couturier, and how good they played and how they expect to play that way all the time now.
Keep talking, Al.
I'll keep talking. So that when you really look at what's gone on, Carter Hart is like, he's confident that, and John Tortorella mentioned this at practice also, like, we can play that way because we have the goaltenders that can make the stop if we make that sort of mistake. So even more encouraged or willing to play at that pace. And he was like, and he also couldn't believe the attention to Tippett. Now imagine, I asked him, I said, what's it like as a goaltender to watch another goaltender get lit up like that? He just smiled like, what are you going to do? I mean, backhanders are blind shots anyway to begin with, but to do it at that speed with a defenseman in front of you, it's like you just, you shrug your shoulders and tip your cap to him.
There was nothing he could do. Absolutely nothing at all. And I applaud him for hard recognize that.
I felt bad for the goalie. Like, nothing.
And you talked to Travis Sanheim as well?
Talk to Travis Sanheim about the Travi, they sit together, right?
They do
So,
everything together, yes.
well, I wanted to, because we're not going to get many chances to get to Konechny before the All-Star game. They not going to practice much because of their schedule coming up. Just what it was like to talk about Konechny becoming a star. And he said he deserves it now. More people have noticed, and he's getting the credit for the kind of game that he has and the leader that he's become, and how happy everybody is for him. And the fact that it's such a tight group in the locker room, like Tippett getting like basically a rousing ovation coming in after practice the day after, basically, and connecting everybody all jacked up like he's going to the All-Star game. There's a lot of times you go to an All-Star game, it's an individual thing, but I really get the sense it's for everybody that he's going to the All-Star game, and a lot of attention that he gets at the All-Star game will be put on, well, how about the Flyers? How about what they're doing right now? I mean, a chance to buy the All-Star game. I can't believe we're saying this, that they could be in first place in the division.
I know it. They really could. And then you wonder about the Rangers right now, but the Flyers, they're in second place in the Metro. I can't believe we'd even be saying that in January. Even that, though, to be said, you still look at the standings. Say the Flyers lose 2 games in a row, it's a completely different story. So saxophone, all the good vibes, but it still sticks with the tone. And John Tortorella will be so proud that we're talking about this. You can't take a night off.
No, he can't take night off. Well, I guess if it snows, you can take a day off, Ashlyn.
I sure can.
I can't. But for many, you can't take that night off. No, and look, you're not going to win. Look, 5 in a row in this league's remarkable. So I mean, they're also going to catch teams that are really jacked up for you at this point coming into this, because what you're going to be facing now is the desperation of teams that you're past the halfway mark. You're going to face teams, Detroit, New Jersey, that are like, we can't lose it. I mean, the Flyers, actually, they have the littles, but they have at least a little margin. There are teams now with no margin. So if you're the Devils, Penguins, Caps, whomever is like, we can't afford it. We have to get 2 points out of this, or at least 1 point out of this. So they're going to run into teams that have really cranked up their game because they're in an even more desperate situation.
Yeah, teams fighting for that last spot right now in the wild card, and at least when you look in the Metro, it's 3 teams right now that are neck and neck, and Flyers, there's a couple, they're right down there with them. So it is exciting times for the Flyers and hockey as a whole here in Philadelphia. Thanks for tuning in to South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original brought to you by 94 WIP.
Go get that dog.
Jack Daniels. George did not take a day off. He wanted to be included in the podcast, and I hope you all enjoyed his analysis. See you Monday. It's still barking. Never ends.